Welcome to the Never Been Promoted podcast and YouTube channel. I'm on a mission to help you cut the time to all the things that are holding you back so you can unleash your entrepreneur. Welcome to Never Been Promoted. Hi, I'm your host, Thomas Helfrich. We are going to be talking about passive wealth building income. I'm excited because I don't know about you, but I like money and I love it to come in when I don't have to do shit for it. Like, well, I set it up and it just kind of comes in. If you don't like that, you can hang up now. If you want to learn how to do that, Chris Miles, our guest, the founder of Money Ripples, not nipples. I'm not going to lie. I thought it was nipples, and I was like, I had to put some glasses on, and I was like, oh, okay. Though I think that Money Nipples would be a better branding, just to be cool. Ripples sounds cool, sounds more professional, but I would be curious. I should just do a Google search right now on Money Nipples and see what comes up. Let's see if it's Money Ripples. See, Chris, when you come on, I know you're listening right now. You're like, he said Money Ripples like 15 times. That's really good marketing in the first 2 minutes when most people watch the show. So Money Ripples. If you guys haven't been here before, thanks for coming. And if you've been here before, you know the mission. It is to help entrepreneurs get better at entrepreneurship. And it's to do that by cutting ties to stuff in your way, stuff that holds you back. And, making money sometimes is one of the things that holds you back. And so if you need to make a little bit of money, today's show might be really of interest to you. I have one shameless plug. Actually, it's two. First and foremost, I'd like you to go to neverbeenpromoted.com, check out some of the stuff we have there. But if you're a podcast listener and you go to Apple, Spotify, listen to an episode and give us a nice review. Like a 5-star would be most ideal. It does a lot to help our community and our mission and helps the guests kind of reach more people. So, all right, enough shameless stuff. Chris, come to the stage once I figure out how to use technology. See, I have to produce my own show, so I'm clicking around in the background. It doesn't go well. How you doing, Chris?
Doing great, man. Yeah, I do the same thing, and I appreciate the plug for my side hustle, Money Nipples. I really appreciate that.
When we were catching up on off camera, you're like, "Did I tell you the story about Money Nipples?" I'm like, "No, but you will." So that'll be our icebreaker story today. But literally, when I was like looking at the show notes today, and I'm like, I literally was like, who am I? I'm like, let me get that on, and okay, I didn't miss. I was like,
get your mind at that Las Vegas gutter there. Come on, man.
I was a little disappointed when it was Ripples. I was like, oh, one of the ideas my team had was like, for entrepreneurs, like there's different kind of businesses. They're like, go get like the top OnlyFans account people and interview them how they did that, and I'm like, that's brilliant, but I can't be the one to go source that. So one of you guys are gonna to bring me. I can't be rocking OnlyFans going, honey, what are you doing? I'm like, I'm looking for my next guest. Oh, sure you are. Sure. Be clear, honey, I do not have an account. I've never been on the site. I only know what it is because it's impossible not to know what that is.
That's right.
Chris, do you go by miles or miles?
It depends on which country you're in, but yeah, miles works great for America. Miles is always great. If someone's like trying to figure out how to spell it in Mexico or something like that. But no, miles is good.
That's good. Okay. So Money Ripples, just start off kind of like, what you do, and what's the value prop, what you guys do right now.
Yeah, we really help people become work optional, where you work because you want to, not because you have to, right? And you do that by having enough passive income coming in to get you to that point where it covers all your bills. You get to decide what you do with your time, and more than just trying to get rich. As I say on my podcast, my Money Ripples podcast, I'll say it's about living a rich life, because as you're blessed financially, you have a greater capacity to bless the lives of those around you and create a ripple effect through their
Yeah.
lives. So that's really what it's all about. It's like, how do we first get you free? And also, secondly, how can you help, really bless the lives of others around you?
I love that. It's living a rich life in particular with that, right? And for those who are listening, he has a sign in the back that says, "Live your life now, not tomorrow." And I've seen these posts from different influencers, and I think I said something the other day was like, don't take your free time and spend it escaping the current shitty life or the life that you don't like right now, like the work you do. Instead, spend that free time building one of a life that you love. Mm-hmm. And this is in entrepreneurship, and specifically, and if you hear this part of the show, listen up, because this is it. You either sit in your ass thinking about things to go do and watch Netflix and dream because you deserve to sit there, and that's a sense of entitlement you need to dump. And you can either do that, or go pick up a book and learn, or go figure something out that can go make you money, so you can be what you call work optional. And like, that is the difference between someone who's going to make it and someone who's not. Is get off Netflix, go do something instead.
Right. I totally agree, man.
Yeah.
It's and here's the thing. I love Netflix too.
Okay, everybody, you got it. Tune in next week.
Yeah, that's right. We're done. There's your thought for the day.
No, I agree. So listen, Money Ripples, I love the idea. We'll get into some of the details of the passive piece kind of in the middle of the show here. Do you want to set it up a little bit before we get into the money nipple story? Can you set up, how you got to where you are, and then we're going to dive into that story here in a minute.
Yeah, fascinating thing. Of course, I was raised by typical middle-class parents, that taught you that, hey, we can't afford this. What do you think I am made of money? Money doesn't grow on trees, all that kind of crap you hear all the time. And, my dad worked in the automotive industry. My mom was a starving artist, oil painter, actually trained by the same guy that trained Bob Ross, the guy with the afro, paints the trees.
Oh, little whispering trees. Oh, yeah.
That's right. Yeah. All the, peaceful clouds and all that kind of stuff. Right. So she was doing that too. But the one thing they had in common is that money was scarce. There's never enough of it. So of course I figured I should go to college, because that's what people do if they want to become rich. Right.
Right.
It didn't take me but a few years in. I'm one of those people, I like to see evidence. I like to know that things work. A few years in, I realized the best professors were the ones that actually were in the private sector, and they were like independent consultants. So my goal, even though I was a sociology major with a triple minor in Japanese, ballroom dancing, and psychology, I actually could have triple minor in all of those. The thing is, I wanted to become more of a business consultant, so I really want to become an entrepreneur, coaching entrepreneurs. But I figured I should probably have a real business and not just be teaching crap, because I had an MBA and I'm entitled to it as a snotty little 20-something-year-old kid. So I actually dropped out of college with one class to go before I got my degree. I said, let's just take a year sabbatical, just try to get that business experience and build up my resume a little bit more. Well, I wasn't sure what business to start. The first one that came up was being a financial advisor, not knowing they take anybody off the street as long as you could pass a stupid test with 70% and not be a serial mass murderer, And
actually, initially, that's not even a thing. It's if you've been caught or
been caught. That's right. You can't be caught. At least you can't be convicted.
Or investigated. I think that was one of the questions. Are you being investigated?
Right. Investigated is one thing. Yeah, exactly. So it was kind of easy barrier of entry, at least to get in, so to speak, as long as you pass the test. Not so much to stay in the industry. And I actually love being an entrepreneur so much. I actually dropped out of college. I never finished my degree. I'm basically a college dropout. And then I was going down that path for about 4 years. Well, about 4 years in, my dad said, well, when you become my financial advisor. Now, understand, this guy never wanted to show his money, right? He was the cheapest son of a gun. He's the guy, he's so cheap. And I'm not just talking about he buys everything on sale. This guy buys everything on case lot sale. I hate Cap and Crunch because for a year straight, I had to eat it. And then the year after that, went to Fruity Pebbles. Luckily, the year after that, went to Cocoa Pebbles, all because they were on these big case lot sales. Right?
We should also ask the question of, Dad, do you not care about my health? Because the fact that cereal will stay on a shelf for a year, it should be your first concern. Anyway, continue.
It's true. That's probably why he's diabetic, right? So,
no, wait. Well, is he cheap or frugal?
He says frugal. We say cheap.
Cheap. Like, are you the oldest?
I was the oldest. Oh yeah.
Yeah. See, so you're like Nate Bagazzi, right? He's like, you know, when you're the oldest, your parents are poor, and the youngest, and your parents are trillionaires, and they get everything. So he does a good bit on that.
Exactly. Oh, he never stopped being cheap. He would get he was so cheap. He would not just not tip a server, but he'd also, I'm actually going to steal the plates or the salt and pepper shakers off the table because I got bad service. You know, he was that kind of guy,
Ooh,
right?
that's good. But here's the good thing is he still with us? Or is he moved on to meet the maker?
He's still around. Yeah, he's still with us.
Keep him cheap, because now you're going to benefit, because once he does go to the, you know, meet the maker, you're going to inherit some stuff from his cheapness. Just so you know, I think there's a benefit long term to cheapness.
There can be. Well, and that's what surprised me, because you know, I sat down with him and, you know, he's like, I'm 61 years old. I want to retire. How can I do it? And so when I see his money for the first time, he did stash money away in his 401k, getting the company match like every good boy and good girl should, right? He paid off all of his debt, including his house, in 18 years. So he's proud of being fully debt free. I mean, this guy was like Dave Ramsey's like dream come true, right? I mean, this guy was like doing everything that Dave Ramsey eventually taught. However, I looked at his numbers. I said, Dad, here's the deal. If you want to retire today at age 61, you better hope you die in about 5 or 6 years, because that's when you're going to run out of money. He said, well, okay, that's not what I wanted to hear. You're supposed to give me hope.
You're the shittiest financial
right?
You suck.
Yeah, you suck. You will die. You know, you better keep eating cheap food, so then you will die faster. You know,
that's I saw that Captain Crunch me need it, Dad. I kept
that's
the box.
Right. That's right. Double up. You know, take 2 bowls.
Dad, if you're listening right now, he loves you. This is just setting up the tension in the conversation. So don't hang up. He's going to come around. I love my dad.
That's right. You know, hey, if you can figure out how to use a computer, awesome. You know, that's great too.
you're safe. Say what you want.
I'm safe.
There are text versions of this coming out. Just
oh, dang it. You know, if he only read. So anyways, so anyway, you know, he obviously wasn't pretty happy with that answer, but I was being honest. I was like, listen, I don't know what to tell you. You did everything right that I teach as a financial advisor. And that bothered me. It bothered me a lot, because he was kind of part of the motivation to go into that. Because I always heard growing up from him, it wasn't just about being cheap. He would even say things like, hey, listen, like this job is literally going to kill me, because he had strokes and heart attacks by his 40s and 50s, right? So
what was he doing?
He was just automotive sales. Like he was the guy that worked for like a distributor for like CarQuest and things like that. So he's going around talking to people all day, doing his like, you know, traveling, almost like a travel salesman, but local, you know, like out of the back of his van, he's selling these auto parts like drugs and things like that, you know, and I mean, it wasn't like a super stressful job in the sense that he loved talking to people. The stressful part for him was that they kept cutting his payback as he kept getting better. So he made more and more money. This is kind of reason why do we want to be an entrepreneur, right? Because he was an employee thinking he worked 40 years and got the perfect job and everything else. But instead, whenever he would be successful, they would take some of his success and then give it to the guy that sucks, just to help give him some more area to cover. And so they keep cutting his area down while cutting his commissions.
It's just messed up. Like it just, that form of ageism is like, you have somebody who could efficiently cover and sell more than 4 other salespeople, and you give it to more because on paper they should be doing 4 times as much. Like it just doesn't work that way. He would know, well, you never go there on a Thursday because he's drunk from Wednesday night out. Like you go Friday to go sell that. Like he would know that stuff, right? You would know that they never buy in February because blah 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 trade show. Like anyway. The point is, people who manage typically in companies sometimes don't get that. They don't get like a really good sales guy knows more than just to fill an order. And they have dirt on them too. And they're like, I'm going to buy from this guy because it got crazy at Cheetah one night. Like, I don't know. That's a strip club here in Atlanta. I've never been. Once again, honey, I'm setting up we'll talk later.
That's right. No, if he heard you right now, he'd be kissing with his dentured, beautiful mouth, you know? So,
you didn't even keep his teeth together. Great job, Dad.
That's right.
You can't be cheap on the toothpaste, man. Come on. Or using a finger instead of a toothbrush. Just doesn't work.
Well, it was on case lot. You know, that's the thing. Right. Toothpaste was on sale, not the toothbrush. You know, that's kind of
just baking soda and acid.
That's right.
Vinegar.
Works for car degreaser. Might as well use on my teeth too, right?
Imagine that vinegar and baking soda for your tooth, because it would work. You'd be like, so the natives use.
Dude. Oh yeah, awesome. Yeah,
I told you today's gonna be a different show because I'm cheeky today. It is almost we're whenever this comes out eventually it's almost holiday time, and I just get cheeky, like closer and closer to the end of the year. I get cheekier and cheekier. So this is gonna be a fun episode.
Listen up. Okay. ADHD right now is like I'm with you.
Like, listen, I mean, and the reason is because it's so much fun because how you got to where you're going is like, you're speaking the American dream, but but it's gone.
Yeah.
Like that idea and the notion of work until you retire and then it's dumb. It's honestly, it's like blow your best years of your life for what? So you can give it all to healthcare in the last 20. Like that's the model.
Mhm.
Anyway, so I want you to keep going here with it because it should hit home for a lot of people because it's reality.
Well, it is. I mean, that's what bothered me because I was, I was having people smoke opium, right? I was giving them hope, like false hope that they would be able to retire and be free. And of course, in their olden golden years, hopefully they'll be golden, if not like just fake gold at this point. It's like fool's gold, if anything. Because the truth is that a few weeks later, I'm talking with a friend of mine and he asked me, he's like, well, Chris, how many of your clients are financially free where they don't worry about money? Not just retired, but they're not even worrying about money. I said, well, none of them, even the retired doctors, especially if they watch CNN, you're going to be like freaking piss yourself because you're so scared of everything. Right. So no, like none of them, none of them are free that way. Okay, Chris, good job. Way to be the financial advisor of the year. How about this? How many of you guys as financial advisors are financially free, not off the commissions you're earning, but actually doing these same investments? And as I really thought about it, I was trying to be honest. And I thought about it, and I remember there was guys working in my office since the late 1970s. By the way, this is like 2005 when he's talking to me about this. And so late 1970s, these guys have been working in the industry for 30 years. They can't retire either. And I said, well, maybe none. Maybe none of them can. There's your problem, Chris.
That is the problem because the machine of what you've been sold is to go further the machine that actually makes money for those who can. You just became the passive income machine for something else.
That's right. You're
the engine.
Problem. Yeah. I mean, it was never really about passive income, right? I mean, it was always about just save, sacrifice, suffer, just suck your entire life, like just don't spend anything. Yeah. Yeah. Live off nothing eventually. Right. And then hopefully you'll have some kind of future someday. And if you really think about that, the only people that prosper from or really profit from that are the financial institutions, the banks, right, and financial advisors, not you. And even the financial advisors, they can't do it either, which is why they have to keep selling you that crap. I mean, it's worse than like people talking about pyramid schemes and things like that, right? I mean, it really is like a big false, this is a big piece of crap, So that's the financial term for it. So anyways,
crap. Be fun.
Yeah. I mean, so I started like looking at other stuff like passive investing, right? Like real estate investing and so forth. Because the truth is, if I'm looking for evidence, I was seeing guys in their 20s and 30s financially free. And I was like, okay, I got to learn how they do this. So a few months later, I quit being a financial advisor. I would never teach about money again. I'll just teach ballroom dancing on the side and be a mortgage broker. Because back in 2006, anybody could be a mortgage broker. It was super easy. It was kind of like 2021 in some ways.
I think I was at one point. I own a mortgage company, so that I was for a few months, and then got licensed nationally, and it was easy.
That's right. I mean, it was so easy to do, right? You could be anybody, and so I was doing that, but I was also learning about real estate investing and things on the side, and realized that the secret to financial freedom wasn't about hoarding your money away, squirreling your money away like a bunch of squirrels saving up for winter of your retirement, right? It was really about how do we get money to pay you today, right? Kind of like the science said, live your life now, not tomorrow. How do we get money to pay us now? How is it about income versus accumulation? And then that's when everything clicked for me. And I started to like use my money instead to generate income streams from putting in like real estate and not even have to always do the real estate investing, even though I would do some, like I had turned my starter home into a rental and things like that, stripped the equity out and invested it and whatnot. But I could actually lend my money to investors. I could lend the money to them and let them pay me interest like I'm the bank. And when I started to do it, I was like, wait a minute, if I could earn even 12% a year, that's 1% a month. That means if I have 100 grand, it's paying me $1,000 a month. And I do nothing. I let them do all the work. I get paid interest like I'm the bank. And worst case scenario, if they don't pay me, I take over their asset, right? I take their property or whatever it might be. And I realized like that's what it means to think like the bank. That's what it means to actually do money like the bank does, where they're trying to accelerate the money, not just accumulate it, which is what they teach you to do so that you keep your money with them so then they can turn around and make more money off of you, right?
Mm-hmm.
And when I started to do that, then later that next year, I actually retired. I was able to retire when I was 28, almost 29 years old there in 2006. And then, of course, I had to ask myself, what am I going to be when I grow up, right? Because, I never expected to get to that place so soon. I never expected to get to the place where I didn't have to work anymore. So I did keep working, but I was working more part-time. But of course, naturally when you do something like that, people are like, what are you doing? I'm like, I don't know. I sell drugs. Like I didn't know how to describe to them, hey, I'm investing, but I'm doing it not in the way that I was teaching you just like a year ago as a financial advisor. So I just tell them I sold drugs just to buy myself some time to figure out what's a good explanation for what do I do.
I hope you actually said that and people are like, what do you got?
Yeah. Some kept coming back around. I couldn't figure out why, They're
Why
like,
didn't you get out by your front door? I'm like, I don't know.
that's right. Sure, you do ballroom dancing. Yeah, I got it. Right. Yeah, mortgage broker. Yeah, I'm sure you're broken.
I never see anybody coming in here to dance for more than like 3 minutes.
Yep. So eventually I came out of retirement in 2007, started teaching people how to do what I did, which leads to the next chapter of, the kind of like the higher you go, the harder you fall. Right.
Mm-hmm.
And, cause 2007, we all know what started happening after that. I came out of retirement. I decided to put a lot of my money into the business and I had some partners. In fact, one of the partners says, hey, why are you doing all this stuff on the side to create passive income? You should stop that. Teach people how to do passive income, but get rid of your passive income. I know it totally makes perfect sense. Right. But at the time I thought, let's be a team player. I'll do that. So I started putting all my chips into this business that we're going to help liberate people, help them become financially free. Well, the people we were focusing on were real estate investors, specifically real estate flippers, who were the ones that got hit first in the recession, because when the banks froze up, nobody could buy these properties they were trying to flip. And so in mid 2007, I'm going from millionaire and starting to go negative. I was in the hole like 15,000, 16,000 a month between personal and business, to the point where I went from millionaire to upside down millionaire the next year in 2008. I was like over $1 million in debt, and life was sucking. To put it mildly, right? I mean, it was just horrible.
Should just kept selling drugs at that point. Like, I really should have just sold drugs. It would have been easier.
I probably should have, like at least, I got to jail. I would have been fed,
right.
Where I was like, literally, I got to the point where I was living on welfare because I couldn't even feed my own family anymore. I had this young family, had 4 kids in 5 years, and have 8 kids now with a blended family.
They go from like the Disney experience to, no, you have to eat Captain Crunch.
Yeah. Oh yeah, even Captain Crunch.
Actually, the generic version of Captain Crunch from Aldi. Like,
we were going for Multo Meal. We're like, how can we get as big of a bag as possible for 50 cents?
Right. Ramen noodles is all you're having for the next 2 years. So that's it.
Did a lot of that. Oh yeah, but I would stir fry it to make it seem like it's
How did you get out of the? How'd you get out of the million debt? Did you have to declare on that one, or
get out? I could have gone bankrupt. It would have been easier if I did, but I'm just too dang stubborn. Mm-hmm. So instead, I pivoted because, one, I felt like a freaking hypocrite, right? Because I'm teaching people how to get out of the rat race, but now I'm back in it. So I realized I can't teach that anymore because I can't teach something I don't do, because I'm the worst poker player you ever worked with. I'm a horrible BSer. You can tell when I BS. It's obvious. And so I was like, well, what can I do? Well, I would get people that I would try to teach them. Like I try to get them to come in and sell them. And they're like, Chris, I would love to hire you, but I just don't have the money. Like it's been hard in the recession lately. I just don't have the money to do it. Now, I wouldn't say this verbally because it's kind of business suicide, right? But verbally, I wouldn't say, well, I'm broker than you are. What are you complaining about, right? It's like you're talking about before, you're rodeo guy, right? Like where he's like breaks his neck. It's like, what do you complain about with your freaking sprained ankle? I broke my neck, and I walked again.
You can walk over. You can walk over to the refrigerator, right? How angry you are.
Yeah, exactly. Like I was.
Can't do that.
So that's what I was kind of saying in my mind is like, I'm more broke than these guys are, and they're saying they can't pay me. And so what I verbally would say is, well, if I can help you find the money, would you pay me then? They said, well, yeah, if you can find the money, I'll pay you. I'm like, great. And so I would show them like creative ways to find and free up cash, especially if they're business owners. It's even easier when you're a business owner because you got like tax savings you could do and all kinds of stuff in both business and personal and whatnot. And so I would do that. They're like, sweet. So I would get paid. So I was literally just getting gritty, trying to stay aligned with my, my current situation by teaching them how to be resourceful, which is what I was doing in my own life, right? Wasn't teaching them about passive income anymore because, again, I didn't feel qualified to do that. And so I started just helping people find and free up cash. And we went from almost bankrupt even in 2009 to then also the next year, 2010, like well over 5-6 million in sales, and pulled us out of that hole. And yeah, it hurt. I lost my house. I foreclosed my house in 2009, tried to sell it. The bank wouldn't let me because they were owned by none other than good old Bear Stearns. Mm-hmm. I did eventually get a class action lawsuit for a whopping $300 check. So
good job.
Yeah, thanks. It was pretty awesome.
I hope you bought Bitcoin. That would have been helpful.
I actually got introduced to Bitcoin in 2010, and when it was like pennies, and I was like, "Oh, this thing's crap. This is just like you replacing gold and silver. I'd rather just buy gold and silver," which did okay, but not as good as Bitcoin, obviously.
Right.
I would, maybe I wouldn't be talking about this subject at all. I'd be talking about Bitcoin instead. If
You'd
I
just be on
done
your
it back
yacht
then.
going, I'll show you passive income. I just converted Bitcoin to cash. Now I have like 5% a year off 100 million. I'm good with 5 million a year.
That's
Hey,
right,
how
exactly,
about
right?
that for you know what? In the thing you sold before, that is if you can amass enough wealth,
Mhm.
let's say 10 million, and you can get a 5% return, which you should be able to do off of 10 million,
Mhm.
you can be passive off your investments. If you can live
Oh
off a
yeah,
half million a year. But not very many people in this world are ever getting to 10 million. A million's not going to do it. 5 doesn't get you there. Like you got to get a number where, anyway, so my point is it works. You just
oh
got
it
to have a
does.
shit ton of money to get there.
That's right.
And once
Yeah,
you
and
have
so
it, you got generational wealth and you'll probably get to do it. So
well, that's why, like, really, your number one investment, first and foremost, should be your business. I mean, make good money there, and then invest the profits, right? Then invest profits, create that passive income. Because people will say, like, "Hey, I've got 20 grand. What do I do with it?" I'm like, save it, keep it in
good.
savings because you probably need it. you
Yeah.
know, Especially if you're a business owner, you need liquid cash available. That's the one problem I did in that recession was one of the reasons why I was in such a pickle, right? So, so early on is because I was tying up all my cash, throwing it into my house equity. Because I figured, worst case scenario, I'm a mortgage broker, just cash out the equity if I need it, but I might as well
Mhm.
just pay down my house balance. So I had a house that I had massive amounts of equity in, but guess what? I couldn't touch it because by September 2007, actually, is when I went to the bank in July of '07. They said, "Oh, well, some of the rules are changing. Get your credit score up 2 points, and then we'll retry in August." So I went back in August, did it again. They're like, "Oh, we just changed the rules last week. If you do X, Y, and Z, if you jump through all these hoops, then we'll give it to you in September." Did everything they asked. And in September, they said, "We're sorry. We don't give out any more cash out refinances to business owners." And after we found out, later on, it was not even business owners, it was everybody, right? They didn't want anybody to get cash out refinances. And that's what happened with me. And even though, and of course, because of that, the real estate market got affected. The value of the home dropped to where I was upside down eventually, even though I had, 150,000 of equity in it. I couldn't sell it. I couldn't get out from under it.
That's great.
So having liquid cash is key. If you're a business owner, especially, I'm telling you, I call that abundance insurance, because the worst thing you can do as a business owner, right? And I know I'm probably just jumping ahead to different parts of your
No,
show, but
listen, I mean, like, but you're always in that, everyone's like, oh, keep 3 months of liquid cash. I'm like, I'd keep 12 months.
yeah, that's
If you could,
exactly what I say.
because I look at our account sometimes, I'm like, and I'm always reinvesting into things, like, right, to kind of do it. I'm like, man, we lose a couple customers, I'm laying off everyone, and I'm gonna be writing my own content and producing my
Yep.
own shows. And I'm like, and it's funny because as a business owner, you're like, I guess if I had to do it that way, that's what I would do. And sometimes you look at it and you're like, well, should I do it that way? And should I
Mhm.
free up capital and just deliver this stuff myself? And you're like, no, I can't, because like you're always at this like juxtaposition of needing to pay people and do stuff and collect money, and you have to scale that way, but then you have to have reserves, and then that slows your growth. And anyway, so yes, I get
That's
it.
right.
Just conscious of time. So bring this home to how you got the money ripples, because I really want to get into some of the ideas behind creating passive income, because they are powerful, and there's a timing involved in it as well, as you were describing and kind of preluding to. So tell me, how did you get to bring me forth to the ripples part of it, or nipples?
Yeah, that too.
That
Yeah.
too.
So Money Ripples came about because, so I started digging out of that debt hole. I paid off like over 900 grand in 3 years, 3.5 years during that time. So I was just starting to dig out of that hole. And then, of course, it got to the point, push kind of came to shove, and I decided to launch out and do my own thing. And so I created Money Ripples back in 2012. And of course, you're starting over again. I had a 2-year non-compete that I was trying to honor, even though I didn't have to. I said, I'm just going to build a brand new network of business owners and everybody else. I actually went for women business owners, was my focus at that time. And I started going down that path. And of course, it's rough because then a few years later, I go through a divorce, and that was emotionally harder than even, the financial hardship I had with the.
I was going to ask you, like,
recession.
you went through all this and you stayed married, and then you're like, oh, by the way, I'm going to go on my own again. I'm sure that was like, nope, we're not doing this anymore. Because anyway, so I
Oh, it
was
was
going to
rough
ask
on
you
her.
that.
Yeah, I felt bad for her. I mean, there was a time, like, if you ever watched Cinderella Man with Russell Crowe,
Yeah.
like he, where there's that point where she wants to take the kids and move in with her sister so they can, have them in a warm house and feed them and all that kind of stuff. I mean, my ex-wife thought the same thing during that 2008 period. She's like, should I just move out with the kids and go move with my sister in her basement and while you figure your crap out? And I'm like, no, that's the worst you can do. I'm already depressed. Why not make me more depressed? Right. So it was rough. I mean, I don't blame her one bit. She didn't have any security or a real sense of safety because she was relying all on me to do it, you know?
So on the, let's just take a slice in that for a second. So let's say you're right now, you're listening and you're like, my business is going great. I got a few $100,000 extra a year coming in. Would you tell people to go put yourself a 3-year savings in a CD and don't look at it again? Would you tell someone to just put liquid cash for a living away just in case everything goes to shit and you need to live off of it? Would you give that advice even in the idea of passive, not investment? But would you say literally put liquid cash somewhere and just never touch it unless you're going to need it for 3 years? Something crazy.
Sure. And there's better place than like the bank savings or CDs. You could put it in for sure that you could still access it and get a decent return and keep it even tax free and stuff. That's what I do. I keep a good chunk of my cash. Like my wife now, I'm since remarried. She's like, I want 400 grand of cash that you never touch. It never gets put in the business, never gets invested in our passive investments in real estate and whatnot. It's just there in case
fallback cash. Yeah.
In case the world blows up, your business gets destroyed or whatever happens, right? Another 2020 and you become non-essential, all that kind of crap that happened, right? And so we keep 400 grand.
So that's good. Just a piece of advice. What would you do if you said, listen, take a chunk of money, whatever that number is, that gets you for a year, 2, 3, 4, 5 years, whatever it is, where you could be like, guys, let's just travel the world for 5. Where do you put it if it's on a CD?
Yeah. So here's what I do. So I have about a year's worth. That's why we have about 400 grand. And so I keep about 50 to 100 grand between bank savings that I can access today to pull out today, and then high yield savings accounts, which pay around 3-ish, like 3.5% to 4% right now. Rates are coming down, of course. And then I keep the other lion's share, the other 300 grand of that 400, I keep in life insurance. I actually keep in that.
Actually a whole life kind of a idea where you have access to it.
Yeah, that's even one of the strategies we teach is like, how do you store that money, keep it away from lawsuits and creditors? Because the thing is, if I get sued and somebody wins, they can get to my bank savings, but they can't get to my life insurance savings. That's untouchable. Even if I have millions stored there, they can't get to it.
Yeah.
So that's where I kind of keep a lot of my money, my lion's share. And I even teach people like how to store it there, even make money with it, with your business and whatnot. But yeah, that's what I do. Like I just keep money liquid so I can get to it within a week or less.
And so 2012, you form, Money Ripples and then go through divorce. Tell me. So like you started this a while ago, you got COVID coming at you, don't know about.
Yeah.
Let's hear the COVID story. So Money Ripples, what was the original value prop for it? How did it
really
start?
Find and free up cash? It was still kind of what I did when I transitioned. I pivoted a little bit. Because again, I wasn't quite out of the rat race. I dug out of a pretty good debt hole, but there was still more to pay. So going into 2015, I had this big shift. I mean, there was this going into post-divorce. I was questioning everything. And I read 2 key books that helped me, both written by Mike Michalowicz. If you guys know him, he wrote Profit First. Great book if you're a business owner, especially if you want to make sure you actually have profit in your business, not just reinvesting every dollar in the business, which means you're not profitable. That's a great book. And then I read The Pumpkin Plan. And The Pumpkin Plan revolutionized how I was doing my business because I was working like 50 plus hours a week, making 6 figures, but at what cost? And I realized like I was busy, but I wasn't always productive. And so when I read The Pumpkin Plan, they talk about like those prize winning pumpkins, how they'll cut off all the small pumpkins to just feed the vine into one big, massive pumpkin that you see on the news. And so I looked at the Pareto's principle, the 80-20 principle of what's the top 20% that gives you the 80% of your revenue. Well, I decided to Pareto the crap out of the Pareto's principle. I took the top 20% of the top 20%, which is the top 4% that gives you 96% of your revenue. And I was looking at like my star 1 or 2 clients and I hyper focus on them and where'd they come from. I stopped going to networking groups locally here in Utah. I stopped, going speaking on live stages everywhere. I actually realized my podcast and being on other podcasts was like my best strategy, my best, most, best ROI on my time. So I started to do that. I went down to 5 hours a week, double my revenue, 8x'd, not 10x, sorry, Grant Cardone, but I 8x'd my profit, that next year in 2016. Having all that extra profit, was able to take that profit, turn it into passive income, investing in passive real estate investments to the point where by the end of 2016, December of 2016, so, 8 years ago now, I was able to get out of the rat race for the second time. I was able to retire, when I was 39 years old back then.
So when you're, as you look at it now, you're potentially at a, you hit COVID. Did it change anything for you?
Well, that was the great thing because remember, I went more virtual. I went more doing podcasts, my own, because my own podcast is in its 11th season now, so I was doing my podcast, going on a few other podcasts as a guest, and that was it. So when 2020 hit, nothing had to change, right? It was
Right.
actually, it was kind of a serendipitous,
Yeah.
it was awesome. So
You're ahead of the curve at that point too, because it's like you got all these new podcasters coming in. It's like the gym on January 2nd. You're like, fuck, there's not going to be any
that's right.
seats available today to do lifting. I guess I'll stretch. Sorry.
Yeah, working from home no longer became cool anymore, right? Because then everybody was doing it. You're like, oh, I thought it was unique.
I worked from home for years, and now there's all these people in my office. I'm like, God, get out! I don't
Get out.
get out of my office, all of you.
And that's
Worst
just your kids.
I'm just worst homeschooling parent ever.
Yep.
Just a side note, like my daughter was in kindergarten during COVID, and during the first kind of parent-teacher conference, because we had all 3 kids at a table, the kindergarten teacher goes, yeah, the other day we heard an adult male cussing, using profanity in the background. I was like, you know what? I will look into that. I will make sure that whoever did that doesn't do that again. Did you say adult male? You sure it wasn't adult female?
Yeah. It was just a very masculine female.
I was like, get on the fucking meeting. My son, who's probably like 7, 8, 9, whatever, should not have been cussed at. I was just like, you're losing your shit at that point. Anyway, thank you for listening.
I get it. Homeschooling. I mean, if you hear yelling in the background, it's because there's homeschooling going on.
I know how you get homeschool. I think the idea sounds amazing, and then I have these kids that they're the worst homeschooled kids at the same time, where I'm the worst homeschooled parent. It's like it was like a nexus of. It was going to be like Game of Thrones soon. It was going to be really. I was just like, which one of you is going to survive? Is that Lord of the Flies? I don't know. One of the two.
It could be either.
It was going to be a mix of that. Little Ralphie, little piggy was going to get it.
That's right. Show me your.
You haven't read the book. You're behind. Okay. All right. We get through COVID. Your business is taking off. You've gone through it. You got a new wife. Did you apply the math rule for your new wife? It's half your age plus 7. Did you do that?
Yeah. Well, I'm not Muslim. I mean, that's I almost did though. I almost converted when I was a teenager, but that's a whole nother story. But no,
there's a rule, right? For guys, second wife, it's if you're 50, it's half your age, 25 plus 7, 32. That's the age you're going to.
Right. So no, this time I went the opposite. I think she took half her age plus 7 to get me. So I went for the cougar this time around.
Cougar. She clawed you right in. Good job. See how I told you this is going to be a weird one. All right. Fast forward to today. You have these strategies. Give me so remember, an AI is going to listen to this at some point. Mm-hmm. What are the top 3 passive income strategies currently?
I like to say get lean, get liquid, and get out, right? Get lean means start tracking your money. Like let's talk about read the book Profit First, especially if you're an entrepreneur. You got to read that book. Get lean in the sense of doesn't mean you have to live on rice and beans. You don't have to be a cheap son of a gun. It just means, start tracking your money. Watch it. If you're a business owner, obviously using QuickBooks, great way to do it. It's boring. I know, I get it. But your accountant gets all hot and bothered when he sees QuickBooks numbers. I mean, it's the only thing that gets him excited. He goes from this to this. I mean, that's pretty much accountant excitement there. So use QuickBooks. If you're using tracking personal, Rocket Money, Monarch Money is great. But start tracking your money and then see what's prioritize where you're spending your money. Like what's important to you, what's not important, what is important. Make sure you're prioritizing that and keep profit from home, profit from your business. Make sure you got money left over to put into savings. And that's what I mean by get liquid. Get liquid means don't lock it up in 401ks and IRAs where you can't touch it. And if you try to touch it, they slap you this 10% penalty plus taxes, like a teenager that bought your own car, but you have to ask parents for permission to drive it, right? That's that kind of crap. Don't get your money locked up in those kind of things, in those retirement accounts. Instead, get it in liquid savings, even if it's just a simple savings account. And then once you have that money liquid, then you get it out to create passive income. And you find real investments, right? Real investments, such as like I talk about real estate investing. Now, I don't mean like just go and buy the property in your backyard because it could be a piece of crap. I live in the Western US. Nothing in the Western US looks good for rentals, but it might be better in the Southeast. And you can actually buy rentals that are already managed by property managers where you don't have to do the work. You can lend your money to investors, to let them pay you an interest. I mean, like I said, you get paid 1% a month on 100 grand. That's $1,000 a month you did no work for. You could do things like syndications, which means you pool your money together with other investors, right? Where you get to buy like a big apartment building or self-storage or a car wash franchise or something like that. It could be even oil and gas. I mean, there's so many things you can do, raw land. There's so many ways you can go about making money. Industrial, like those Amazon, industrial complexes and whatnot. so many ways you can invest that doesn't require you putting your money in the stock market where you just gamble it away, investing in everybody else's business but your own. And then you probably lose money because those businesses suck. So, that's the thing is like, really, if you can get lean, get liquid, and get out, you can definitely create a lot more financial freedom faster.
So what about along the way? So, one of the debates my wife and I have is we have a super low rate on a mortgage.
Mhm.
And I'm like, if we have, all the money available to pay off the mortgage in cash, I said, let's just nuke it. And the reason I
Mhm.
say that is because it's part of the liquid idea of I have a home. I always get to live here. I only have to come up with maybe $15K a year to keep it for taxes and insurance, whatever, run it.
Mhm.
Do you recommend against that? Or do
It
you?
depends. I mean, I know that's the worst,
I
answer you
know it
always get,
because
right?
but it's a question. It's a good problem to have. It's certainly a first world problem to have, but
Yeah.
I debate that. I'm like, I think from an idea of financial security, it's like, yeah, I probably could do something with that chunk of money. But at the same
Mhm.
time, there's a lot of 2007s. There's a lot of 10s and 16s or whatever the last, the fallouts happen. Knowing that you don't have to make as much every month either, there's something positive to that. Because then if I get another second cash, a second money, I'm going to go make passive with it. So anyway, I didn't mean to interrupt you there, but like, what's your recommendation on something like that, where it's like, hey, if you have the option of paying off a home, let's say it's got a great rate, you probably shouldn't because you can make more in a CD, but versus because you run out of income, you still owe that payment. So what's your advice on stuff like that?
Well, it's always about the cash flow, right? It's that about what money is, able to come in versus go out. Like you want to have a lot more money coming in than going out. I've had two scenarios. I'll give you one. One was a guy who was a coach, a business coach, and great guy. He had over $1 million just sitting around, didn't know what to do with it. He had 100 grand left on his mortgage. And so he's like, I don't know what to do. I don't want to invest this money. It's just sitting around. I'm like, well, then pay off your house.
Well,
Right.
that
I
something
mean,
like that, like
yeah,
you still have 900K left over,
exactly.
but you could
Yeah.
also be like, why don't you take that money and go create passive income that creates enough to pay off your house in a year?
And that's like this other example where I had a guy out in San Diego who's a chiropractor. And he's like, I have a lot of Asian clients, and the Asian clients are like the ultra like savers. Like they are like the best, most disciplined savers I've ever met. And he was no exception to the rule. His game plan was in 6 years, I'm going to pay off my house and my investment property. Right. And he had a bunch of equity in those properties. And I told him, I said, okay, well, if you free that up, what do you free up? Like, don't, take out tax insurance because you're going to keep paying that.
Yeah.
What do you got free up in principal and interest? And between the two properties is like 4,200 a month. So about 50 grand a year. Not bad. And that's his 6-year plan, was just aggressively pay off his mortgages. I said, or we can actually sell off your investment property, because what is it cash flowing you right now? $200 a month. Okay, but you have 700 grand of equity in that property. That's like a 0.3% return on your equity. That sucks. You could cash that out, put into a CD, and make more money than you would
You make
having
like
this rental property.
20x on.
Yeah. So it took him 2 years to finally do it, because he was like so locked in on that saver mentality, that Dave Ramsey mentality, right? And so he finally did it, sold it off, bought, at the time, 6 rentals out in Louisiana. Since then, took the cash flow from those to build it up. And he just messaged me a few months ago. This would be in year 5 of those 6 years, by the way. So he's not even at the year 6 point.
And he's
He
paid
said,
it off.
hey, my passive income is now 100 grand a year on these properties. And I said, see, told you. What if you done it 2 years earlier? You'd probably be like 120 grand a year. You'd be like 10 grand a month right now if you had done it sooner. And that's the thing, is like, it really does depend on what you can do as a steward of your money. If you're a wise steward with your money, great. You could probably invest and make more. If you're a crappy steward, you're going to blow your money and be stupid with it. Pay off the house, because you're going to screw it up anyways. So
Well,
it just
right.
depends
I
on
mean,
what kind of steward you are.
if you owed like, whatever, $1 million on your home and you paid it off,
Mhm.
I'm not saying we do it, just from a math standpoint, you'd be better to go buy like, 4 $250,000 properties that produce $2,500 a month rent.
Yeah.
And you have the equity, because they're presumably moving up at 2 or 3% a year, whatever. But
Yeah.
and if you're netting 2,500, you're pulling in that 10K a month. Just put that as a principal payment. You'll end up in the same spot without, and at the end of it, you'll still have a 10K a month coming into you. You're saying,
Yeah.
and you
Exactly.
just
It's the
fire
same
and
reason
forget
why I
it and
don't.
let that be. And you have these 4 clear properties that you're like, all right,
Yeah.
you'd probably say leverage right now, maybe not because the rates suck, but like if the rates go
Yeah.
low, we'll leverage them then and get 20 of them.
Right.
So
Exactly. It just depends on what puts you in a better position. Like for example, I bought a brand new car last year, but they offered 3.99% financing. I was like, I can make way more, because most of my investments make at least 10, 12, 15, 20% a year. So why would I freak out about 3.99%? I'm like, why would I use my hard-earned money to go pay off a car when I could take that same money and make a lot more than pay off my car for me?
yeah.
Like
Well,
that's the difference.
I'm listen. I've never won or lost a deal because of my car ever. So my 2013 touring hot end Odyssey minivan with plenty of little dents in it,
Uh-huh.
It's been paid off for like 10 years. Like we just paid for it. And the reason is because my philosophy on cars is they're a giant ass waste of money and it's a necessity. So minimize how much money you spend on in any given time.
For sure.
If you shit money, get something fun, have fun with it. I get it. I get enjoyment out of it. But don't require yourself to have $1,000 a month payment so you can look good in an X5. Like that's dumb.
I totally agree. Totally agree. Like, I have a lot of friends that drive friends that make less money than me drive really awesome sports cars, right? And I could buy a sports car, no problem. I just don't care to. Like I got my Nissan Maxima, that's like my souped up car from 2017, and I got my Nissan Pathfinder that we bought last year, brand new for 3.99%. I would have paid that in cash, but I got a nice offer. I'm like, forget that. I'll pay it off in a couple of years.
Friends of ours are like, multi-million. They've done really well during the boom of like interest rates falling and stuff. And, and you would never know they're like where they are. But the point is, they drive a Honda Odyssey as well. Like, and I'm like, I cannot have a car nicer than my friend. I know he's 100 times more valuable than I am worth. like that wouldn't even be on the table. Like, right. And the truth is I look at it and go, I like the fact that my car's a little beat up. Let me tell you why. I can get in front of any Tesla and I know it's going to back up, not because just the automated system, because they don't want to wreck their car.
That's
and I
right.
don't care. You can hit my car. It's gotten to the point where I've walked out of Home Depot and I looked, and I looked at the front right corner of my thing and someone's like come across my bumper. And like, it's not caved in, but it's scraped as shit. I'm like, and I just kind of second thought about it. I guess
they're going to rob you. They're going to rob somebody else.
I'm just going to spray paint over that in a couple months. It's going to be, looks brand new.
It's just got a little marker, a little white out.
I know we got just a couple minutes here. Chris, just quickly, how does someone get a hold of you, and who do you want them to get a hold of you? Like, what's the profile? What do they look like? I wish we had more time because this is such a fascinating conversation. I think people should follow with you because your strategies on like your website's great, by the way. So people should check out moneyripples.com. But who's really the person you can help today?
It's really the person that says, I'm making decent money, but where's it all going? Or I've got money. How can I make it work for me so I have to keep working so hard for it? That's really who we help, right? It's the person that's willing to buck the status quo that says, listen, like I think financial advisors could be full of crap. They're just salesmen in suits. I think I could do better, but how? What are my other options? I want to find something that could work better, especially if I want to create more passive income today. Those are the people we help.
Yeah. And how do you, I didn't ask this, but how do you guys consult your fees? Is it a percentage? Is it just like how do you guys make money in that transaction?
Yeah, we only do two different branches of our business. One does with that insurance strategy, which we just get paid from insurance companies. So you don't come out of pocket for that. And then the other one is for consulting. We actually just charge a consulting fee, a flat rate, usually based on how much we can save you or make you in passive income over the next year.
Yeah, that's good. I mean, so it's a win-win model. And the insurance piece would be like whole life, things like that you'd sell. And is a closing thought, moneyripples.com with an R. Could you quickly, in 30 seconds, we didn't get to it. I don't know how we missed this. What is the Money Nipple story?
Yeah. So I was on a podcast by Entrepreneur Magazine, right? So Entrepreneur was doing a podcast and the host, as he's introducing me, he's like, Chris Miles, CEO of moneynipples.com. And I'm like, it's Money Ripples. I thought he was joking, but he was deadpan serious and called it Money Nipples. I'm like, no, that's not me. That's the other Chris Miles, or something like that. But yeah, like it was crazy. I was like so excited to be on this big interview. And then he, of course, messes up that one thing, calls it Money Nipples, Do
you own moneynipples.com? Because you should have been immediately go to GoDaddy.
I probably should. And watch, you'll end up buying that after me, but.
Just as I haven't.
Yes, true.
It's a boob with cash on it. That's it.
It's when you went off the screen, you're like, I'm clicking here, GoDaddy.
I get it. But, I mean, the truth is, I'm just going to forward it with an affiliate link. And
there you go.
Man, that guy kills it. I make $6 million passive income off the passive income guy by owning it.
That's right.
And by promoting moneynipples.com.
That's right.
It's Ripples, people. RIPPLES. Chris, thank you so much for showing up today. I appreciate it.
Same here. Such a pleasure.
Thanks, Tom. Hey, have a good one. I'm going to put you in the blue room. I'll be right back. But thank you so much for coming. Listen, guys, this is your first time here today. I hope it's the first of many. Chris is, you got to get time with him. He's awesome. We just touched the surface on his story. He knows what he's doing with this. He's been through it. He's gone broke. He's made millions. He's lost millions, did it again. And that takes a special kind of thinking and way to do it. So it's legit on how he thinks and how he's doing this. And this guy really knows where the value is in passive and how to do it and when to do it, which is, I think, key. So if you're doing well out there and you want to figure out a way to go do it, check it out, moneyripples.com. Thank you guys so much. Get out there. Go cut a tie to some shit holding you back and get out there and go unleash your entrepreneur. Thanks.